if you're not subscribed to Rob Okin, aka MaxxStorm, on YouTube, you should do it now if you want to see kind of like the limits that double stepping and not doing turns can go. If you don't know what this chart is, this is Horizon. It is a 14 in the ECFA 14's DLC, and it's basically the master's class of crossover. The entire chart is basically just crossover stream. If you're bad at movement, this chart will be your worst nightmare, and in fact, this chart is my worst nightmare. So what I want to do is I want to play the video once through, and then I might try to watch it, like slow down and see what's going on, but I'll kind of make some closing comments after the first run through. So let's take a look. Oh, let's watch on full speed. How about that? This chart is no CMOD, and there are some brackets in the beginning, but they're pretty inconsequential to the actual meat of the chart. So don't worry too much about it. It's really not a big deal. There's like 2 slowdowns. That's all the brackets you'll see are in the beginning. I do find it funny how many excellence he comes out of here with in whites, because I do the same thing. The intro is really hard. And there you go. This is the chart. That's all you do. And he's double stepping all of it. And I think when I tried to double step this, if you don't know what you're doing, if you're not a pro like Rob is, there are cases where you might actually end up triple stepping things. So he's really, really smart about how he's approaching these patterns. It's so crazy watching this. And getting fantastics almost the whole time. Yep, this is the other slowdown, but it's your break. I've actually never made it to this break. I've walked off of playing this song every single time. This form of double stepping is not like a slidey type of thing. Like, he's putting effort into each of these double steps. This is not like a whoop 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 like slidey kind of thing.
Yes.
My god, so good. And something I noticed when I watched this video is that like he's tired, like he's putting out a lot of energy, because there's some misconceptions, right? Like one is that double steps is supposed to be easier because crossovers require you turning your whole body and double stepping isn't. But when you are double stepping in a way where you're like putting a lot of energy into it and trying to deliberately place every single note so you end up in this 15 millisecond window, double stepping is not easier than doing crossovers. I would say maybe doing crossovers is actually easier, because then you can just keep your momentum constant. Another misconception I've heard is that, oh, you know, Rob Okin can only do this on his pads. They must be like, you know, dickhole sensitive, as Kyle would say. But it's not true either, because Rob has come over to, he's played in ECFA, he's come over to the US to play in DDR Storm, and he ranked top 3 or top 4 on a neutral machine, also playing in socks. It's not his machine. And he just double steps everything there too. So everything that he's doing is very deliberate and has nothing to do with, like, you know, pad sensitivity or anything. Like, this is him like putting in work on this chart. So as far as notes about this chart that are good to know for someone who's playing through this, first of all, I recommend for 99% of people that you should actually do the turns and to not do it this way. Another thing to note is that there is a lot of right arrow bias in this first stream. If you notice, almost every single crossover, if not every single crossover, is on the right arrow. And that's important to know, because people are not built symmetrically. I think in an ideal world, you would be good at doing both left arrow crossovers and right arrow crossovers equally. But if you're better at left-sided crossovers, it could be worth considering trying this on mirror. But yeah, so far every single one is on the right. And then also here, there's this section that accents these kind of higher pitched notes using crossovers. Dum 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 bum 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 bum, and every single one of those is on rhythm and on the right arrow. This is a really important. This is a really important crossover to know. Oh man, if YouTube would cooperate with me. Okay. This is. So notice here, if you're doing all the turns, your right foot would be here, your left foot would be here. So this is a left arrow, and it's actually on your right foot. The way that you should be hitting this is, with this on your heels, and this on your toes with your left foot. Do not try to turn more than that. You should just face right, 90 degrees, and then try to get out of that position as fast as you can, because that is super uncomfortable. This is definitely like the hardest turn. I would say it's the deepest turn in the chart. So it's worth, if you're really gonna have a lot of problems turning that far or turning that deep, it's worth considering trying to double step into this, double stepping out of it and then going back into doing turns. That's something I've considered. It saves me a little bit of hassle, but ultimately I think when I go back to playing this, I'm gonna just try to do that turn. So what have we talked about so far? Right arrow bias. Right arrow bias here as well, especially. Bum bum ticka dum bum ticka. Lateral. Yeah, even here where the crossover pattern changes, there's a lot of right arrow bias. Here, balances out a little bit better, but it's still, there's a lot of left arrow crossovers. And then I think even here, I keep thinking that the runs are gonna balance better between left and right crossovers. But then it kind of does that same eighth note accent pattern. Bum, 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 bum. Except it does it on the left arrow instead. Here. Bum, 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 bum. So, kind of those biases come back to get you. It makes me actually wonder if the chart is balanced overall and it's just like the individual sections are not balanced, but mirror is definitely still something worth considering. It still feels very right arrow dominant. Like this run feels a little bit better. Ugh, I don't like this. This chart is so hard.
Yes. Okay.
My last bit of advice from like an FA pass perspective is that you just want to think about, I talked about this in Interstellar Travel as well, but you want to just think about what it feels like and what it should sound like to hear your feet play 160 BPM stream. Just that constant 16th notes moving the whole time. And make sure that no matter where the turns are taking you, no matter how violent the turns are, no matter how deep the turns are, how frequent they are, that you're maintaining this 16th note grid. That's what I'm gonna have to say, because I mean, you could play this in a way where you're just going for a full combo, you know, but the FA pass threshold on this is 86%. Like, you cannot get an FA pass on this just trying to go through the motions and trying to pick up as many notes as you can. Like, every single note you try to play has to be deliberately placed. It's actually going to be better for you to aim for 15 millisecond fantastics and get a miss rather than, you know, get awesomes or worse, solids. As far as like some double stepping principles that I've talked about with Chrono, Chrono is kind of like the other double stepping king, I guess. The Rob Okin and Chris Guzman really dominate like the double stepping meta. It does make some things easier, but it's still something that has to be learned. Like, the reason that they're able to double step in this capacity is because they spent a lot of time familiarizing with themselves with the patterns that are going to come at them, how they're going to approach hitting those patterns. Basically, the way I see it is that when I just do the crossovers, doing the form, I don't have to think about anything because the chart is telling me exactly what to do. So when you try to double step things, I see it as a sacrifice in, you know, I am taking away some of the movement challenge and I'm adding in brain difficulty to offset it. Because if double stepping was this easy, everybody would be doing it. And in fact, only 2 people are doing it at this level. So good food for thought. I guess the moral of today's video, you should do what's most comfortable for you. For 99% of people, I recommend doing these turns. Maybe more than 99%, I recommend doing the turns on this and just doing the tech. But maybe you, the person watching, maybe you're in the 1%. I guess really just have a good understanding of the pros and cons of whatever strategy you try to come up with. Understand what style best fits you. And ultimately, just play with what feels the most comfortable to you. You know, people at the top level, I don't know if pros is the right word because none of us like make money through playing this game or make a living through playing this game, but you know, all the experts, right? They are good reference points and they're good educational references for how to do things well, but ultimately, like, if you know, if what Rob's doing is really good, it's not comfortable for me, so I'm not going to do it. You know, if even if Chris is doing something really well, if there's something that he does that just isn't comfortable for me, I'm just not going to do it. So comfort is really at the forefront of how you should be making decisions about playing this game. I think that's my moral. But also that most people should do the turns in this. That's all I have to say about Horizon. Definitely subscribe to Rob Okin on YouTube. Follow him on Twitch. I'll catch you guys tomorrow.